This is project number 9. We are going to be creating a color wheel in Photoshop. Up to this point, we've been doing everything by hand with paint chips and acrylic paint, and that's all part of the subtractive system. We are now ready to transition to the additive system, the one that deals with light. Your computer is actually a large light table, and so everything that happens going forward will depend on rear illumination. So the first thing that I want you to do will be to open Photoshop and create a new document in Photoshop. Set the canvas to 6 by 6 inches with a resolution of 150 dpi. Make sure it is set to RGB color if it isn't already. When it opens, it will look something like this. If you open the Rulers palette, and if yours aren't already on, you can simply go to View on the bar at the top and pull down until you see Rulers, and then make sure that the box checked. Your rulers will appear on the top and the left side of your screen. If you click directly over the ruler and drag a rule line, it will appear, and then you can position it as directed. Please note, these rule lines only apply to Photoshop and will not appear in either the printed version of the document or any saved version of Photoshop. Now pull out a rule line and set the crosshairs for the center of the document at 3 by 3. Since I did this in the tutorial, it now has Photoshop has features that help you locate the center of any document simply by hovering back and forth and top to bottom, and you can get the line that automatically indicates when you're centered over the document. Now, using the circular marquee tool located next to the red arrow on this screenshot above, I want you to drag open a circular pattern that is located over the center of the document. When you release the cursor, the marching ants will continue to show. This means that Photoshop anticipates that you're now going to do something in this space. Now I want you to open your gradient palette, which is located next to the red arrow in the screenshot. Now choose the radial gradient shown at the red arrow at the top of the taskbar here. After you've chosen the radial gradient, start at the center of the circle and drag towards the top with your cursor as indicated by the red arrows inside the circular pattern. You should now get something that looks like this. After I walk through this tutorial with you, I will do this for you in class from my computer. The marching ants should still be moving, so don't deselect them just yet, and keep the circular marquee established. Now I want you to open another layer. Notice the new layer indicated in the Layers palette on the right of the screen capture. Here is one layer with our color wheel on it, and now there's a new one above it. Using the Paint Bucket tool, now the paint bucket is located under the gradient tool, which is highlighted here. And using the color picker, I want you to fill the circular pattern with a new layer and fill it with white. An easy way to select white as a color is to simply type 6 Fs into the hexadecimal dialog box inside the color picker. That's the little box at the bottom of the color picker. This is the hexadecimal code for white, which will be scary at first because it appears as though you've undone everything you just accomplished. But if you look at your Layers palette to the right, you will see that your color wheel is still there. It's just underneath the white circle in the new layer. Now, I use the Edit Transform Scale command, and by grabbing one of the corners that appear around the document, the bounding boxes, and holding it down, the Shift key will constrain the circle to a pure circle. And I drag it until I get the size that I feel is right. And I use my arrow keys to nudge it over until it is centered over the color wheel on the lower layer. Make sure that the center line of the top circle lines up with the center line of the lower layer. Again, Photoshop makes this all much easier. If you feel that the center circle is too large, you can always grab it again and use the Edit Transform Scale function and drag it either larger or smaller. like this. You should now have a document that looks like this. This is the color wheel using Photoshop. I'll now show you how to do this very same thing in Photoshop here in class.